read this before.
Between May and September, she gained 4 inches and 20 pounds, all in the right places. Bright blue tab.
So when I was getting my cup of tea, we had a conversation off camera about who's saying that.
Right. Is it the narrator who seems to be this interesting person we can't quite figure out, who has opinions? And is that the narrator's opinion that she gained the 20 pounds, that it's possible to gain 20 pounds in all the right places? Or is it the narrator just kind of setting up, this is what the world is like? When I say this, I mean, this is
Or
code
is it Frankie's kind of internalized misogyny? Because we see that a lot. Like I thought the dumb girly was Frankie to herself, like,
Yeah.
God, I'm breaking the rules of what you need to have to be a powerful feminist, whereas I'm not sure I feel the same way about the 4 inches and 20 pounds in all the right places.
Yeah.
Like that, the bike one, just it was very, that self-deprecating, like,
Yes.
I don't feel comfortable with myself, and because those are also the tools that she uses when she's judging other women, that they're not living up to the feminist ideal, and it sounds like she's judging herself with that too.
Yeah. Whereas this moment is different.
Yeah.
This feels to me like it's the narrator, but I can't pin the narrator down.
Yeah, the narrator is very hard to pin down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I ran out of tab colors. I actually considered having a flag for this. Who is this narrator?
Yeah.
And I mean, the narrator's fascinating because we're in a generation right now, or whatever you would call it, where there are a lot of books out there with the narrator as character. I mean, Lemony Snicket is the most obvious,
Right.
but where the narrator does mean something in the text, who they are and what they bring to it. But even with Lemony Snicket, like, even we always have an idea of who he is. He's Lemony Snicket. Like, I don't think that the narrator in this book is E. Lockhart.
Right. No.
And it's
No, I
not
don't think so either.
an older Frankie.
No.
No.
It's definitely not Frankie.
I also can't tell, and this is interesting in the context of this book, I can't tell if if the narrator is gendered. Like, sometimes I want to read the narrator as particularly male or particularly female, and the book isn't helping me doing that. I think I'm pasting that on. I do think the narrator is adult.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Which is interesting for a YA novel, actually. Like, it's adult, but it doesn't have the tinge of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Which is
That's
part of what makes
that's
the story
true,
strong. Like,
Kind of like Lemony Snicket in some ways, although much
Yeah.
less obtrusive.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, wait, hold on. The nostalgia kind of formulating. There's a lot of nostalgia in the book, and it's condemned. Because, like,
It's Frank Sr.'s nostalgia.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's pathetic.
exactly.
Yes.
His nostalgia is pathetic, and the boys' nostalgia for what this club has always been. Nostalgia for the Bassetts that they never actually knew.
Right.
Like, that's a big nostalgia that's also being condemned within the story.
Yeah.
Implicitly, if not explicitly. Frank Sr. is explicitly.
And the school's nostalgia for, the alumni nostalgia in general.
Mhm.
The idea that things have to stay the same because they've always been that way, even if the way they've always been is the patriarchy.
Oh,
Right.
that's really interesting because it connects nostalgia with the power structure.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
ongoing power structure, and the reason the ongoing power structure has to stay the same is because that's how it's always been, which is a very nostalgic idea, but we think of nostalgia as being very, like, sort of mild and sort of a pleasant feeling, but this is actually connected into, like, serious power.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that now I'm thinking about the power structures again. The boys want to go to Harvard or Yale, and Zeta ends up at Berkeley. And it's not that Berkeley's not a good school, and it's not that you can't go from Berkeley to being part of the power structure, but it's not the historical power structure. It's the modern, post-sexual revolution power structure.
And that's what Zeta represents.
Yeah, Zeta represents.
She
why do
rejects
you don't?
all that stupid crap.
Yeah, you don't want to join the boys' club. You don't want to go to,
Yet she
Their
was
club.
still, that was her social group.
Yeah.
So she was in it,
And
but rejecting it simultaneously.
She grew out of it.
it's also
Yeah,
worth
she did
noting,
kind of
says
grow out of
the graduate of a women's college, that women, because I was kind of paying attention, women's colleges are not brought up in here.
Yeah.
Like we have them suggesting she join field hockey, which doesn't have a male counterpart, but no one here is saying, well, why don't you consider going to Smith
I
or
feel
Barnard?
that she would think that it was field hockey.
Yeah,
I
feel
think
the
I
same
would
way.
see. I think Frankie would.
Frankie would, that's what I mean.
But like, when we hear Zeta saying go
Yeah.
outside the power structure, she
Yeah.
doesn't consider that because
Right.
her outside the power structure is more the contemporary kind of hippie thing than the outside of the gendered power
Yeah.
structure.
Mhm.
And, you know, and Alabaster, it's interesting, you know. So there's no commentary, is there, about how long Alabaster's been co-ed? Is there?
I think there is.
Is there?
I was assuming 1970s, but that might have just been a.
We know that it wasn't co-ed when her father went there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can't be that recent.
Is Andover always been co-ed?
No.
When did Andover go co-ed?
Well, I don't remember.
I-
I'd have
again,
to
I-
look it up.
So
I'm
Andover,
hearing
Yeah.
70s in my head, but
First it was just a
Which
boys'
is
school,
so
and then there was Abbott, which was connected to it, but was a separate school down the hill.
so like BB&N
And
was.
now it's all one.
BB&N was the boys' school. It was Buckingham and Brown and Nichols, and they.
Oh, I didn't know.
So we're
that.
talking about traditional Massachusetts private schools. So Andover in this case is Phillips Andover, which is mentioned early in Frankie Landau-Banks.
Just basically so that they can,
triumvirate.
so that you can't say, hey, this is Andover.
And yet this is Andover. It's basically Phillips Andover, Phillips Exeter are sort of the two New England sort of
The Ivy League prep schools.
the Ivy League prep schools, and there's a place early in the book where it is
hang on.
mentioned that and of course everyone knows Andover, Exeter, and Alabaster.
Yeah.
But and so Alabaster is really filling in as sort of an Andover Exeter-like school. There's a lot of exclusive private schools in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Triumvirate of preparatory academies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andover, Exeter, and Alabaster. So. I mean, I assume it's Phillips Alabaster, clearly.
Oh, yeah.